Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
And welcome to today's show. This is your host, b-alan-bourgeois, and I have with me today Roy Clinton. Welcome, Roy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. We have quite a lot to talk about because you're a very busy man in your professional life, but also in writing, and you have lots of books. So let's dive right into it with Lost, which is the first book of many that are set around a Western theme. But this is, as your character has kind of put it, he's 150 years late. Why is that?
Well, this is it's about a young man who he's a modern day cowboy, lives in Bandera, Texas, but he fancies himself a bit of a Renaissance man. Believes he was born too late. Wishes he was a part of the cowboy culture of 150 years ago. And actually, when this book was first published, the title was Clint's Journey Home, because it's the main character in it is named Clint, Clint Hazard of all things. And yet, as people read the book and gave me feedback on it, they said, this is maybe about his journey home, but this is about a man who's lost. He is just absolutely, he loses everything. I mean, things were coming apart in the opening scene. He's in his special custom pickup and gets run over by an 18-wheeler, and so that, there's that loss. He's got a girlfriend in the car with him, in the truck with him, and this man's married, and the lady with him is not his wife, and his wife kicks him out. There's another loss. He works with his son on the ranch, and son doesn't want to have anything to do with him. I mean, it's one thing after another as this man watches his life really come unwoven, and then the journey of him seeing if there's a way to put it back together. The interesting thing is that this is really a tale of, I don't know, it seems really pretty contemporary. As you know, Alan, my day job, I'm a psychotherapist. And my goodness, the things that happen to Clint Hazard, these are things that come across my desk, come into my office day after day. But the fact is his life is out of control and lost, but he does see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and the book is the process of him wandering down that trail, not taking a really straight shot at it, but having some detours along the way. But it's something that's very relatable. And right now it's out on our website at topwesterns.com as well as Amazon. It's out under the title Clint's Journey Home, but within the next few days it will be retitled Lost, because it's just really a lot more, or it's a good bit closer to what the book is really about.
Now, considering your daytime job and all the problems and or challenges that your character is going through, how much of this has been taken from those people that you've talked to, have worked with and stuff? I mean, are you taking bits and pieces of all these different people and putting them into one character, or is there something else there involved?
No, always there's I keep my clients' lives confidential, and there's nothing that's ever identifiable to a person. So everything is de-identified. And yet the things that happen in true life many times are may seem more unusual than something that would be a part of an author's imagination. So the things that are in the book, the different things that happen. For example, Clint is he realizes one day how out of control things are when he wakes up in the median of Interstate 10 somewhere in Mississippi. He literally wakes up, comes out of a drunken stupor. He's in a pickup truck that is not his. He has a sack of money beside him, some $4,000, has no idea where it came from, and then he starts beginning to piece things back together as to how he got there. All of that's so far-fetched that had it not really happened, I would have had it not happened and been related to me, I would have thought, this is just really not plausible. And yet there are things that happen when a guy's life gets off track, things like that and other things. Anyway, there's and the exact details I gave are nothing like actually what has been related to me. But these are just examples of what has happened in Clint's life and continue to happen in people's lives today. People look for adventure, look for excitement, and oftentimes get their lives badly off track and begin to wonder, how is it possible to get back to reclaim life? Is it possible to get to a place where the craziness is gone and that's okay, that they're able to operate without the drama, without the catastrophe always being on the horizon.
They do say that life is stranger than fiction. There's nothing true to that.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have just a few minutes left of the first segment, and I wanted to know what got you into writing these, well, not only this book, but your series, Midnight Marauder, which is a Western series. What motivated you to write something of this nature? Well,
I've written for years. I've got a number of professional books under my given name, not my pen name, and so. But I was really looking for a way to introduce clients to something that would be helpful to them, where they may not be more inclined to read clinical books, but maybe they would read a novel. So that's where Clint's Journey Home came from. And then, though, I enjoyed it so much before the ink was really dry on it, I began writing the next series, the Midnight Marauder series, it has nothing to do with psychotherapy, but they're classic Western novels set in the late 1860s and early 1870s, and so that's something that came as a result of Clint's Journey Home, soon to be called Lost, and so that's the whole genesis of the Midnight Marauder series.
So are you finding this to be therapeutic for yourself, to be able to write these type of stories?
There's funny you ask it like that. I'm sure there's a lot of therapy that goes on. You heard me say once at a writing event, when I have a really tough day, which I just had one, by the way, with clients, that I just go home and kill somebody. And I pull out my computer and I begin writing, And so, yeah, it's definitely therapy for me. No deep message there in the Western novels that I write, other than, I've got a real sense of what's right and what's wrong, and even with a character that is a vigilante, which he is. I mean, you say, well, that's absolutely wrong. And it is, and yet it's in a situation where if he doesn't stand up and do something, that many other people will get harmed. And so there's kind of a push-pull going on in his life as he tries to figure out what is the next best thing, what is the right thing to do, and when faced with things where actually it looks like there's two wrongs, how does he make a decision?
And we're going to stop right there.
Okay.
I want to go ahead and go to commercial first, because Midnight Marauder has a total of 4 books currently, and he's got another one coming out, and there's a lot to talk about. So I don't want to leave people hanging too much, but let's pick it up after the commercial break, and we'll go from there.
I am Grace Allison Blair, an award-winning author, motivational speaker, and modern mystic. I have combined spiritual and psychological principles in my nonfiction self-help books under Grace Allison and fiction books under Grace Blair. Go to modernmysticmedia.com to find Do You Have a Dream? 5 Keys to Realize Your Dream, and my novel, Einstein's Compass, a YA time traveler adventure.
Do you love to read great new ebooks? Visit ebg247.com. Be the first to discover the next bestseller. At ebg247, we have the web's largest selection of great new book reads, from that amazing new fiction or nonfiction to horror, romance, and fantasy. We even have today's best children's books. That's ebg247.com. New books arrive daily, and all ebooks start at just 99 cents. If you love to read, then you'll love ebg247.com. Low prices, large selection, and an easy-to-use website. It's all only at ebg247.com.
Headlines. Cryptocurrency vultures are circling around failing governments. Darknet predators are rushing to market with their newest digital product. They promise economic salvation, even as they coupon clips straight from your digital wallet. The newest techno-thriller installment from Breakfield and Berkey, The Enigma Source. Book 10 of the Enigma series continues the combat of cyber good guys versus cyber thugs set in today's digital landscape. Texas Authors is proud to be a supporter of IndieBeacon.com, a website that supports indie authors from around the world. If you are looking for help with marketing or getting published, IndieBeacon.com can assist you. Years of experience by the founder is available to any indie author looking for help. IndieBeacon.com, a place for creative souls to find help in marketing their creations.
Have you ever thought what you would do if you had to put your life on hold to parent your parents? Charlotte Cannon has lived the journey caring for 3 parents with dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. Her book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents, is a survival guide for adult children caring for aging seniors. Her book is available at books.txauthors.com, Amazon, or your favorite bookstore.
Hello, Texas authors. My name is Randy James, coming to you from my Carrollton recording studio, where I spend time writing and producing commercials for my radio endorsement clients, as well as my private freelance clients. I'd like the opportunity to help you sell more books with a commercial like this and get listeners of Dear Texas Radio excited about your title, all at a special introductory price, available to members of the Texas Association of Authors. Call or text 214-762-1942. That's 214-762-1942. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
And welcome back. This is your host, b-alan-bourgeois, and I have with me today Roy Clinton. Welcome back, Roy.
Hello, it's good to be back with you.
Now, before we went to the break, you were starting to talk about the Midnight Marauder series. You're dealing with a gentleman by the name of John Cruder who has to decide a lot of things. What motivated you to first write this book, but secondly, to do a series? Because you have not only these 4 that are currently out as of tomorrow, but many more that seem to be lined up and ready to go.
Well, I started out with a place that I love, which is the hill country of Texas, specifically the town of Bandera, Texas. And I've spent a good bit of time on ranches there, and wrote much of my very first book there on ranches, dude ranches, guest ranches there in Bandera. And as I began to think about it and research the town, and I found out it had a really interesting history. And before I knew it, it was as though I was transported back there and living back in that time 150 years ago. The main premise of the first book, Midnight Marauder, in fairness to Bandera, I need to tell that the town council, unlike in Midnight Marauder, the town council was not composed of crooks, of thieves, and murderers. As far as I know, they were all very fine people. However, in this novel, back in the early 1870s, John Cruder found out that he was serving the town as marshal, that if he didn't do something, the entire town was going to be wiped out. And he actually found out that the town council was getting on to him and realizing that he was probably on their trail, and he knew that he had to disappear, otherwise the people that he loved, that he cared for in that town, would end up being targets in order to get to him. And so he took on the assumed identity of the Midnight Marauder and began working behind the scenes to ferret out the injustices that he saw there. And found out the injustices went on up into the state capitol, up into Austin. So the town council was able to operate pretty much with impunity. They didn't have to worry about anyone or anything, and so they were operating completely outside the law and doing it without having to worry.
It almost sounds like a modern-day Washington, D.C. story.
Recently at the Texas Book Festival, somebody had read part of it, and they came back and they said, "So, what's surprising about this?" As I read about this is not like this is a real novel. It's like you're writing what's really happening. But I don't think it's quite that bad.
Now, you started off with, of course, the first one, which is Midnight Marauder. But then you go on from there. Go ahead and tell us in order the books and basically what each one represents.
Okay. Went from there, went to Return of the Midnight Marauder. And this is just continuing the story of his quest to ferret out the evil there in the town. There is a love interest along the way, a young woman that he meets at the ranch that he was working on. He was actually working on a ranch prior to becoming the marshal for a brief time, and in the process, in the Return of Midnight Marauder, he actually is introduced to a lot of injustices throughout the state. In fact, he finds some things as he's moving around. He finds some things happening that were surprising to him. For example, there's a great deal of racial prejudice and injustice that he encounters. And take a page or two out of history for this. A corrupt politician in Central Texas that introduced the KKK into the state, and all of that is factual. The politician himself and so forth. A hanging that takes place in Huntsville, Texas, on a plantation there. People don't think of the plantations in Texas. They think of plantations in Louisiana or maybe South Carolina, but there were plenty of plantations in Texas. And on a cotton plantation there, a man that was killed, and then the way the Midnight Marauder came in and began to rebalance the scales of justice there. And then the third one is Revenge of the Midnight Marauder. And in the Revenge book, he really, he takes out his revenge. He goes and he completes a job of cleaning up the town and tracking down the individuals that were really single-handedly taking over the town. The book that's coming out on December 1 is Midnight Marauder and the President of the United States. And I had a great deal of fun with this because it's very much a historical novel. It tracks the president at the time, his life a bit, President Ulysses S. Grant, and John Cruder is summoned to there to Washington to really work at the behest of the president. The president is able to put together enough to figure out that if he's not the Midnight Marauder, that John Cruder certainly is the one that's able to contact him and press him into service. The crisis that is taking place there is a financial crisis, and they're unscrupulous men that are trying to control railroads, and as a result, there's a huge panic, really a Great Depression. And this, too, is taken right out of the pages of history, the Panic of 1873, where the financial crisis really rocks the entire world, not just the United States. Even called the Great Depression until we hit the 20th century and had that depression that then took on that name. So the Panic of 1873, the life of Ulysses S. Grant, and then the fictional part of bringing John Cruder into that and letting him be the catalyst that causes different things to happen, and even gets a bit of respectability there when the president commissions him as an agent for the government. But Alan, thing that I have had more fun with over all day yesterday, I got to spend the entire day listening to the audio version of Midnight Marauder and the President of the United States. All of my books are on audio, and I've got an amazing narrator, R. William James, and I'll tell you that's a pen name as well, because this man's a Broadway actor. He has an amazing voice. He's got the most amazing Western, deep Western, authentic cowboy accent for a guy that lives in New Jersey and makes his living on Broadway. But he just does a fabulous job with all of the books. And like I say, I just finished President, and I think this is going to be something that people will enjoy a great deal. One of the things that I liked about it, at the very end of this book, and I'm not giving away much here, but at the very end, John Cruder is coming back home, and he's getting back home just in time for Christmas. and sing some Christmas carols to his family. Well, I couldn't resist putting this in. I mean, knowing that R. William James is a Broadway actor, and knowing the skill set he's got to have to pull off that job. Anyway, John Cruder gets to sing several Christmas carols to his family, and the first one, I love listening to it because it's just an old cowboy singing, and you can hear just the old rough cowboy's voice. But by the time he gets to the third carol, I mean, you hear this beautifully trained voice, but with a Western accent singing. So anyway, that's one of the things that I hope people will do is check out the audio versions of these books. So this is, let me see, this is number 5, the 5th book that R. William James has done, and he's working on another right now. The title that will come out in the next book in the Midnight Marauder series is called Love Child, and it comes out on January 1. And we're hoping for close to a simultaneous release with the audio version coming out either somewhere close to January 1. And I think it'll be also pretty well received by our readers.
Now, with Love Child, is that the last of the series, or are you still planning on doing more?
Oh no, there are others. In fact, I'm not going to give away the title of the one after this, but yeah, the next one is in process, and I've got a writing retreat lined up. Leaving in 2 weeks for the Canadian Rockies. That's where one of the places that I write, and I'll be up there for a month, and hope to get the next one pretty well in shape before I come back.
Great. We only have about a minute left. How can people find all those books and get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, several ways. Topwesterns.com is our website. And so everything that we do is there. You can go and sign up for our newsletter, and if you'll do that, then anytime a new book is released, you'll be the first one to get it. Also, can go to Amazon.com and just type in Roy Clinton, and all the books will be there. Of course, also the audio books are on Audible.com, and on iTunes.com. Or excuse me, iTunes, on the iTunes app on your phone. So a lot of different ways to find them, but Top Westerns and Amazon, you'll find them all there.
Well, great. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, and it's good to be with you tonight.
A new online bookstore, IndieLector.store, is unlike any other. IndieLector.store offers great prices from top indie authors and supports authors at the same time by paying them more for their books. IndieLector.store has a readers club that gives you free books and special deals. Watch the IndieLector.store continue to grow before it opens in the fall of 2019 at IndieLector.store.
Howdy, I'm John Cruder, the Midnight Marauder. I guess you might say that I'm a vigilante who rights the wrongs I see along my many travels to balance the scales of justice, especially those of the corrupt and murderous members of the Town Council of Bandera, Texas. You can follow my many adventures in a series of Midnight Marauder books written by Roy Clinton on Amazon.com and TopWesterns.com. Or, if you prefer, listen to my adventures in audiobook form by downloading them from Audible.com or iTunes. This is R. William James, the voice of the Midnight Marauder.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website at indiebeacon.com.